Hello everyone, today I wanted to show off a healing build for the Tempest. This build is not designed for speed clears, it's designed to make killing the bosses as easy as possible. So it's great for pugs, it's great for learning groups, or any group that might need more than one or two attempts to down some of the raid bosses. Specifically, this boss is great for Veiled Guardian, the Trio, and Matthias. It is, in my opinion, the best build out there for carrying raid groups, superior even to the Magic Druid. So in this guide, I'm going to go over the basics of how this build works and why it makes several of the boss fights so much easier. Then I'll go over the equipment you need to run the build. I'll quickly go over the traits that are needed, and finally I'll go over the skills that work with this build. So the basic concept of this build is that you'll stack massive amounts of passive healing onto your entire party through Soothing Mist and regeneration, which you'll get from your shouts, as well as your overload water and healing rain. The reason why this build makes some of the bosses so much easier is because first and foremost, it requires very little organization on the part of your raid party in order to function well. So for example, the Druid's healing requires that party members be standing in the right spot at the right time in order to receive healing. People that either get teleported on Veiled Guardian or stray away from the group, they don't get healing and they'll oftentimes go down. This build doesn't function like that because you're stacking on so much passive healing. Players can be out of position, or they can be all the way across the map even and still receive the healing they need to sustain themselves. The second reason why is that it's generally just easy to play on the part of the Elementalists, much easier than the Druid in my opinion, because so much of your healing is passive. It's basically just stacking regen through shouts, overloads, and auto-attacking with water. So you don't have to worry so much about reaching players that are out of position. You'll do that naturally through your passive healing without much of an issue. Sometimes if you are a druid, it can be difficult to pick out individual players across the map and get healing to them with your celestial avatar skills. This build doesn't have that problem, so it's much easier to play. Finally, the reason why it makes some of the bosses so much easier is because the healing is so consistent. If your party makes back-to-back mistakes as the druid, sometimes you'll find that you need lots of healing, but you just burn through all your astral force, and so you can't provide very much. This build doesn't have that problem. It doesn't have as much burst as the druid does, but between its passive healing and its auto attack, it can basically heal the entire raid party for 2,000 health per second consistently. And so there's basically no downtime on that. So those are the reasons why it will make some of the raid bosses easier. In particular, it makes Veiled Guardian, Matthias, and the final phase of the Trio significantly easier. It also works well on Sabbatha. I generally do not recommend this build for Gorseval. Gorseval is a fight that needs so little healing in the first place, and you'll benefit a lot more from the Druid DPS buffs than this build. And it generally is not my pick for Slothsaur, simply because the Druid's Condition Cleanse as well as Sublime Convergence work really well in that fight. So for equipment, we want a full set of Magi's armor. We choose Magi's because it doesn't have any toughness, and so you don't have to worry about taking aggro from your tank. A set of exotics will work perfectly fine for this build. The build as is has just stupid amounts of healing, and so a set of Ascended is not going to make any significant difference. So I recommend just either crafting a set yourself or just buying a set off the trading post. For the runes, you want Superior Rune of the Monk. You can get those from the Ascalonian Catacombs. Those runes have more or less perfect synergy with the build. You benefit from their healing power, their boon duration, as well as the 10% outgoing heal effectiveness. For the weapon, you're going to want a staff. I recognize that most healing Tempest builds will use Dagger Warhorn, We want a staff in particular because of the staff auto attack Water Blast. Now, when you take into account all of your healing multipliers, Water Blast will heal for over 1,000 for each time it's cast, and that will heal up to 5 party members. So it's a very powerful skill. So on the staff, you want a Sigil of Transference as well as a Sigil of Water. I will say that I often run this build just with a Berserker staff, simply because that's what I tend to have handy on my Elementalist. It's not going to make or break the build. I will, however, say that the Sigil of Transference does make a significant difference in terms of healing. For the accessories, Magi's is best in slot, again, because it doesn't take away aggro from your tank due to toughness. If you don't have Magi's, then you can mix in some clerics. That will generally be acceptable. Just be aware that you may need to swap out some of them for 0 toughness accessories in case you need to lower for your tank. For the back piece, if you have a healing back piece, go for it. Other than that, I just recommend using what you have. I have a Berserker back piece because I haven't bothered to invest in a healing one. But it's not going to make a significant difference. Just use what you have. Now for the traits, we're going to start off with Water. Within the first line, you have both Soothing Ice and Stop, Drop, and Roll, depending on the boss you're fighting. Stop, Drop, and Roll is good for Matthias. For most of the other bosses, I'll default to Soothing Ice. In the second line, you want Aquamancer's Training. This is going to reduce the recharge on your staff skills. So you'll notice Healing Rain and Geyser will benefit significantly from this. It goes from 45 to 30 seconds and 20 seconds to 13 seconds on the cooldown. In the Grandmaster, you're going to want to bring Soothing Power. Now I know most Auramancer builds still bring powerful Aura. The reason why we don't bring powerful Aura is because if you notice these shouts, they apply auras to everyone in the area, regardless of whether or not you're bringing the powerful Aura trait. So powerful Aura will really only affect auras granted from weapon skills and overloads. Because we're just camping water, the only thing that powerful Aura is going to affect is your overload water. So it's a very negligible gain. If you're bringing this build to Slothazor, which I don't recommend, you may want to consider cleansing water, as it removes conditions every time you grant regeneration. But overall, Soothing Power is generally the best choice for this build. Second, you want to bring Arcane. Arcane is a fantastic trait line for this build. It has a lot of synergy with it. You want Renewing Stamina within the first line. Vigor is very important. You always want to have dodges on handy, and you will occasionally use your dodges as a heal. Arcane Resurrection. Unlike the Druid build, this build can continue to pump out a lot of healing even while it's reviving. So Arcane Resurrection is a great skill because you want to do as much of the reviving for your team as possible so that everyone else can continue to DPS. And Evasive Arcana, what this will do is every time you dodge, it will cast a Cleansing Wave, so that's about 2,500 health. This is the reason why having Vigor is important in this build. Finally, you're going to want to bring Tempest. Within the first trait line, you have a couple of choices. You have Gale Song and Unstable Conduit. I will generally default to Gale Song, simply because I like the stun break. It's handy for most of the bosses. If you're entering a boss fight where you know they don't have any fear or knockdowns, such as Veiled Guardian, then Unstable Conduit is a good choice. You're going to want to bring Invigorating Torrents, so every time you cast a shout, you will also be applying Vigor and Regeneration. And finally, Elemental Bastion. So every time you apply auras with one of your shouts. You also heal, and you also gain a frost aura, which reduces incoming damage every time you're hit under 75% health. So for skills and usage, we're going to be camping water for the majority of the fight. It's generally a good idea to start off an air attunement, give everybody a little bit of swiftness, and then when you swap to water at the beginning of the fight, you'll grant everybody 6 seconds of regen. Water Blast is going to be your primary active heal. It's a great skill. It will heal 5 targets for over 1,000 health every time it's cast. You can also aim it to wherever you need, so you don't have to just attack the boss with it. You can target party members with it. You can aim it directly down. Let's see if I can get it. There we go. You can aim it directly down for a self-heal or an AoE heal just around you. So if you're on the green circle team on Veiled Guardian and that party needs some health, just aim it down and it will heal everybody in the area. You also have Geyser, and Geyser is a great burst heal. It also has great range and a water field. So if you can see there, it has some pretty good range. If you need to reach across the arena, that's a good option. You also have Healing Rain. Healing Rain will stack about 15 seconds of regeneration and cure conditions. It also has great range for reaching across the arena. And you have Overload Water. Overload Water is a pretty decent heal, and it also stacks about 10 seconds of regeneration. So you're going to want to use that on cooldown. It also breaks stun and will remove conditions for every pulse. For your healing skill, you want Wash Away the Pain. Just be aware that Wash Away the Pain has a fairly small radius for its first and second heals. So before you use it, try and get as close to the group as possible and then use it for maximum effect. And then you're going to bring Feel the Burn, Flash Freeze, and Aftershock. Each one of your shouts is going to stack 6.5 seconds of regeneration. Feel the Burn is great for clearing ice patches on Matthias's ice phase. Flash Freeze will provide a frost aura, as well as some Seeker control for Veiled Guardian. Aftershock gives you a blast finisher for your water fields, as well as some Seeker control with its immobilization. For the elite skill, I generally bring Rebound. It's kind of the best of bad options available. That's pretty much the build. So this build really will make several of the boss encounters significantly easier. So on Matthias or Veiled Guardian, when your group has to split up, it's very easy to reach everybody and get them the heals they need. It's not going to do wonders for your DPS, but it will keep everybody alive. So this build is best suited for groups that just want consistency in their kills. It's not going to get you impressive kill times or an MLG sponsorship, but it will get you consistent results. So if you're the type of raider that just wants to go out and kill bosses, then I highly recommend looking into this build, as it will make several of the encounters significantly easier. Thanks for watching.